uh, under Trump, suspending, well, what's referred to as foreign aid for 90 days, which hits institutions such as USAID, but also these other NGOs, which have often been criticized for being, well, they're called non-governmental organizations, but they're financed by the US government. They're often staffed by people closely aligned with the intelligence community. Sometimes it is the intelligence community, and often the way they interpret human rights tends to always align with geopolitical interest. Now, by defunding this, there's already been huge consequences. We hear from Ukraine, for example, all this media, often 80 to 90% are financed by these US so-called NGOs, and even from Hungary, the opposition media, which tries to undermine Orban, has also lost a lot of its financing. So it seems quite, yeah, it's a huge development, and I guess I'm wondering where the motivation is. Is this an effort because he wants to remake a lot of America's foreign policies? Is this a way of uprooting the deep state? Is it simply pragmatic cost cutting measures, or is it geopolitical? Because only the last month these NGOs have had. The former prime minister, now the current prime minister of Georgia, warned that the United States was trying to topple the government there with NGOs to make them into a second front line. In Slovakia, they're arguing that this attempt to be NGOs are trying to topple him for if because he's too favorable of ending the war in Ukraine, same as Orban. So is this geopolitical interest of Trump? Is he cutting costs? Is it uprooting deep state? How are you reading this whole thing? Because it's quite extraordinary.
Yeah, it's a very good set of questions. Again, I'm sorry to say, it's probably a number of motives that are different by different actors. But let me summarize it this way. First of all, USAID is a mix of uh, three very different missions. One is true uh, and urgent humanitarian aid to help finance safe water or anti-malaria medicines and so forth that keep people alive urgently. USAID really does that. You stop that, people die. And so that's the good side of USAID. Second, USAID is an instrument of foreign policy, obviously, of the United States, not only of development or humanitarian policy. You help those who vote with the U.S., side with the U.S., allow the U.S. to establish military bases, fight alongside the U.S., and so forth. So it is a completely politicized institution that is hopelessly misused for sometimes nefarious foreign policy grounds. Third, it is a deep state institution, which is that it funds literally color revolutions, insurrections, and so forth. And it provides opposition media that springs up upon demand when a government is to be overthrown, for example. So it's all of those things. And it's not this action that was taken did not delineate among them, at least in the first order. Afterwards, some of the life-saving operations were restored. I'm sure many not. What was the purpose of all of this? It's, again, a mix. Foreign aid, the good part, saving lives and so forth, this is by itself opposed by core Trump constituencies. Doing good for others, stop that. Believe me, cut foreign aid, that's waste. Why would we help them? This is a very common trope in American politics, which is if it's good for others, it's bad for us. And so, ironically, it's not like people said, well, we should save the good stuff. No, 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 no. We should cut the good stuff because that's a waste of money. If they want to stay alive, that's their business. That's not our business, is an American trope. But it's also true that probably this was an attack on the deep state in a way I would applaud, because USAID got hopelessly, terribly misused for decades. I'm a development economist. I uh, uh, championed development help for poor people, but I would stop dealing with USAID because it was a completely political instrument, and often a totally inappropriate instrument. And so I think that this was also part of the motivation, to be sure. Uh, in general, by the way, in the West, even in Norway, which is one of the big donors, even throughout Western Europe, the idea of helping people honestly to meet their basic needs is going out of fashion. It's incredible the levels of selfishness, self-regard, and so forth against the most vulnerable people in the world. So USAID will not be saved because of a groundswell of support that we should help vulnerable people. It will be saved, if it is, by deep state forces that say we need this as a foreign policy tool for all the wrong reasons, in my view. But what it does do is what you said. It's amazing to watch how many front organizations have been exposed within a week. Suddenly, you can't propagandize. Suddenly, half the media in Ukraine is down because it was all US funded. It was USAID funded. This is the game of the US security state. This is the game of color revolutions. And at least temporarily, it was stopped. So we have a very good experiment underway that exposes what was going on.
Yeah, I agree. And I just, yeah, so Bill Kristol, he tweeted out yesterday, I rather stand with the deep state than the Trump state. So it's remarkable that they can say this out loud.
Exactly. And Bill Kristol is one of the people that has brought us more wars, more disaster, closer to the brink of nuclear war. He's part of that neocon group from the start that has done so much profound damage. For him to say that at least clarifies, we hope that the Trump state will actually be on the other side of that. We're waiting to see. But if it is, that would be exactly the breakthrough to reality and to security that we need in the United States and that the world needs.